Hi guys. Okay, so this is part 2 of solving a system of equations by elimination. Okay. Now, Monday we had a lesson on this where we were able to identify zero pairs, which are also called opposites, where we could just start adding once we identified them, we could add them together, the two equations together, and our opposites would actually cancel out. So, but that's not going to happen all the time, because as you can see on these, you do not have opposites. So I'm going to show you guys how to do these in a little bit. Okay. We're just going to refresh our memory by working this problem out. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do, since I've identified my opposites right here, is I'm going to add my two equations together. When I do that, it cancels out. My opposites cancel out right there. And I'm going to add what is remaining. So I've got 2x and 3x, which add up to 5x. Then I've got negative 2 and 12, and that's going to add up to 10. Okay. At this point, just solve the one-step equation by dividing by 5. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. Now we can find out what our y is by substituting 2 in place of an x in either this equation or this equation, and it's which one you prefer. I'm going to choose the first one. Okay, so if x is 2, I'm going to take 2 and I'm going to plug it in place of x right there. So 2 times 2 plus 2 times y equals negative 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. Once I have this equation, I'm going to go ahead and solve my two-step equation. I'm going to subtract 4 because I want to get the y by itself. So this is what you're always going to do here. And then you got 2y equals negative 6 and y equals negative 3. Okay, so we're going to write this as an ordered pair. So we've got 2, negative 3. Okay, and that's what the type of problem that we did on Monday. Okay. Now, coming over here to number 2, we do not have any opposites. I've got a 2x and a 2x, but one of these really needs to be a negative. 3y and 4y, well, those are completely different numbers. So we're going to have to actually create some opposites. So if you do not have opposites, you will have to create opposites. How? By multiplying an equation by a number. Okay, so if this is 2x and this is positive 2x, I would need one of these equations to be a negative, okay? The only way I can make this, one of these 2x's to be a negative for them to be able to cancel out. The only way I could do that is if I multiplied it by a negative 1. But the rule for algebra says if you multiply one term of an equation by a number, you have to multiply each term by that same number. Okay, so actually this whole problem is all the signs will change, okay? And it's equivalent because you multiplied each term by the same number. Now, if you just multiply the 2x by the number, that's not, you can't do that. If you do something to one term, you have to do it to the other terms in the equation as well. So now I'm just going to rewrite this top equation, and we've got a new equation down here where they're all negative. Okay, so all the signs now changed. Now, if that had been a negative 4 up here, negative 4 times negative 1, that'd be a positive. Okay, so this is what I've got so far. So what you're going to do is you are going to cancel out, and then you're going to add what is remaining. So now that you have your opposites, you can actually just work it out the way you have been. Okay. So 3y and negative 4y is negative 1y. Okay. So notice how on this one, we canceled out our x's, but on this one, we canceled out our y's. So it doesn't matter which one you do first, okay? It doesn't matter if you cancel out the x's first and then the y's. You know, y's on another one. It doesn't matter at all, okay? So 12 and negative 16 added up will give you a negative 4. So y equals positive 4. So now we're going to do what we did over here. I'm going to choose this equation because it's the easiest. So 2x plus 3y equals 12. And I'm going to actually take this 4 and substitute it in place of y right here. Okay? So 2x plus 3 times 4 equals 12. So 2x plus 12 equals 12. And then I'm going to subtract 12 on both sides. I've got 2x equals 0, so x equals 0. So I've got y is 4 and x equals 0. So how do we write this? 0, 4. Okay? So I'm going to do a couple more, and then you guys are going to work on one. Try one. Let's take a look at number 3. And when I ask y'all to try one, pause the video and get a little scratch sheet of paper and do this, because this is the only way that you're going to learn how to do something, okay, is if you actually try it on your own. Okay, so let's take a look at number 3. You do not have opposites, okay? Now, I do have these numbers right here, negative 6y, negative 6y. They're the same. If one of these was positive, I would be able to cancel out, okay? So the only way I can make this one of these positive, like this one right here, let's say I want this negative 6y to be a positive 6y. You know, a negative times a negative is a positive. So if I multiply this negative 6 times a negative 1, it would give me a positive 6 there. But remember, I must do it to all of the terms in the equation, okay? So let's go ahead and finish this up. I'm going to rewrite the first equation, and then I'm going to change the signs of each one of these, because that's what happens when you multiply by a negative, okay? Negative times a negative, that gives you a positive 4x. Negative, negative, that gives you positive 6y. And a negative gives you a positive 6. Okay, so now that I have opposites here, I can actually go ahead and add, okay? That cancels out. So negative 6x and 4x give you negative 2x. Negative 6 plus 6, that's actually going to give you a 0. They're opposite. Those are 0 pairs too. And then you're going to divide by negative 2. And 0 divided by anything is just 0. Okay? So now that we found our x, we're going to come up and we're going to find our y's. And it really doesn't matter which one we use here because it looks like they're both kind of complicated. So if x is 0, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put 0 in place of x right there. So negative 6 times 0 minus 6y equals negative 6. So what do I get when I multiply a negative times 0? I don't get anything. It's 0. Okay? Anything times 0 is 0. Well, this is what I've got left down here. Negative 6y equals negative 6. Okay? And then I'm going to divide by negative 6. So y equals 1. So x is 0 and y is 1. Okay, now coming over here, now look at this. You don't even have the same numbers here for your x's or your y's. You've got a 3 here, and then you've got this imaginary negative 1 there. Okay, so this one is a little bit different. You still need to use multiplication to try to, make some 0 pairs and find some opposites. So I see something that I can do. And it's actually, if this is a positive 3y, what if I multiply this equation or this term, this negative 1 by 3? If I multiply this by 3, because it doesn't always have to be negative 1. It could be any number that's going to give you those 0 pairs. So if this is a 3y and this was a negative 3y, would I be able to cancel them out? Yes. The only way that this could be a negative 3y is if I multiplied each of these terms by 3. Okay? So each of these multiplied by 3. Let's rewrite that. We've got 4x minus 3y equals negative 15. And then I'm just going to bring that down. Okay? So as I'm looking at this particular problem, I see two opposites, which is what we wanted. So now we can actually go ahead and add. So we can cancel that out. 4x and 8x is 12x. Okay? And then negative 15 and negative 5 is actually going to give you negative 20. Okay, so listen carefully. I started on this one and stopped it because we ended up with a fraction. Same here. So basically you just need to know how to do 1, 2, and 3 to be able to solve your, or do your work today. Okay. Just know how to create those opposites right there by multiplying. Now, sometimes it won't just be a negative 1. So you may end up with like having to multiply by a 3, each term by 3 to get a pair of opposites. So you're not always going to use negative 1, okay? It's whatever you can multiply that equation by to get that opposite pair, okay? So I will go ahead and stop there, and I will probably get you started on your assignment today. That way we can, you can get everything done. Now your test is not going to be until next Thursday, so we still have a little bit of time for review. Also, I am posting something later on today about your project. It's a 200-point project, which is 2 test grades, which should help everybody's grade. So stay tuned for that as well. Okay?